Hello everybody. So recently something got me thinking. In the Sonic Origins Plus reveal, it was revealed that two of the games that would be included are the Game Gear versions of Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine and Sonic Spinball. However, the Genesis versions were not a part of the DLC. Something that particularly stuck out to me about this was the fact that in the Genesis version of Sonic Spinball, we see the Freedom Fighters from the Sonic Archie comics in one of the minigames. However, they're excluded in the Game Gear version, which is a shame seeing as the various Sonic comics, Archie included, are home to some of the best Sonic characters. While I definitely doubt that this was intentional, it did get me thinking about the Sonic comic characters in general, and it got me wondering whether or not that they'd ever be in a game again. So today, I'm going to try and see whether or not the characters from Fleetway, Archie, or IDW will ever show up in the games. There's no better place to start than looking at where the comic characters have already appeared in different games. I won't be counting collections, however, because those don't really count. Well, as I mentioned earlier, some of the Freedom Fighters from Archie showed up in Sonic Spinball. Outside of that, let's see. In Sonic Frontiers, Tangle was name dropped once, and that's about it. At least not counting collections and cancelled games. So yeah, in the past, Sega really hasn't been too keen about bringing these characters into games. However, that's where I'd like to divert your attention to Ian Flynn, the head writer of Sonic Frontiers. If you're watching this, there's a good chance you already know who Ian Flynn is. He worked on Archie, then he was moved to IDW, and finally started working on Sonic Frontiers. From what we know, Ian Flynn didn't actually write any of the story of Sonic Frontiers, but rather he just wrote the dialogue. However, the writing of Sonic Frontiers was definitely really well received by fans, or at least for the most part. Because of this, I feel like there's a good chance that Ian Flynn will get more say over the story of the next Sonic game. Seeing as he's worked on both the IDW and the Archie runs of the Sonic comic, I feel like there's a pretty good chance that he could try and convince Sega to allow him to put these characters in the next game. This doesn't guarantee that we'll be able to see any characters in upcoming games, at least not in a meaningful way, but I do think that's better than nothing. Outside of that, the only thing that's really going for these characters showing up in a game is how much fans want them to. This could amount to nothing, seeing as Sega's had plenty of opportunities to bring these characters into the games and haven't. But then again, Sonic Team has of recently been listening to fans more often, which can be seen in the first wave of the Sonic Frontiers DLC. On the opposite side of the spectrum, we've got things that might keep these characters from ever getting in the games. And the big one is definitely Ken Penders. Penders is pretty infamous for, amongst other things, suing Sega and Archie for a bunch of the characters he created. And he's definitely very protective of his intellectual property. Now, clearly, characters he owns like Scourge the Hedgehog are definitely off the table. However, there are some characters he doesn't own that will probably be off the table as well. Case in point, Dr. Finitivus. Now, Dr. Finitivus is a character from the Archie comics and is also one of the best villains in the entire series. And this is also a character that Ken Penders didn't create. However, he, and quite a few other Archie characters, probably just wouldn't be available, seeing as how tightly connected they are to characters that Ken Penders did create. Outside of Penders, there are a few other factors that would probably keep the characters from ever reaching the games. For Archie and Fleetway specifically, some of the characters might need retooling, as they might not fit in with a modern story. Out of all of these, IDW is probably the most likely, seeing as it has the most connections to the modern day Sonic. A lot of the IDW characters also have abilities that make for good movesets, such as Tanker's Tail or Whisper's multi-purpose Whisper. On the opposite side, Fleetway is probably the least likely to get any characters in the games, unfortunately. This is mainly just because of how old the comic is, whereas Archie got a reboot and IDW started in 2017. However, there are a lot of characters like Emperor Metallix that I would definitely want to see from the Fleetway comics make their way into games. I should probably address the Sonic manga, but that's a whole nother can of worms. And with that is all I have to say for this video. If you'd like, please comment what Sonic comic characters that you would want to see join the games. Also, if you have any feedback on how I can improve, please let me know in the comments. And with that, I'll see you in the next one.